Ocean Story is with you, and I have new stories that touch me. My family went through a change like the seasons. My parents chose different paths when I was just 2 years old. This turn in their story left a deep mark in the fabric of my childhood, but at the time I could not yet fully grasp its significance. The years flew by. I grew older and looked at the world through the eyes of an almost grown man. In this new chapter of my life, my mother found happiness in marriage again last year. My father, for his part, continued his life's journey, which was like traveling down many roads. After he and my mother went their separate ways, he met new love more than once, like a seeker, always on the lookout for something new and uncharted. Over time, he regained stability in his relationship, celebrating the 4th anniversary of his last marriage. Thinking back to those years, I vividly remember my father introducing me to the woman who became his last spouse. This was during my teenage years, a time when every new event left a vivid mark on my memory. Those meetings and introductions were full of complex feelings and questions. My father was always a mysterious figure to me, full of surprises and changes. His last marriage seemed to be built on a stronger foundation than previous ones. There was a period of reflection and searching for answers to the complex issues of family relationships and personal choices in my life. During those times, I felt like a traveler at the crossroads of life, trying to understand how my own place in the world was changing and evolving. I was learning to embrace change and see it not only as a challenge, but as an opportunity for personal growth and understanding. In the depths of my memories, colored by the shadows of the past, lies a story filled with intertwined feelings and experiences. Family life was like the sea in a storm, where the waves of instability incessantly battered the shores of my childhood. In these waters of turbulent relationships, my father, like a captain on his ship, struggled to stay on course, trying to stay connected to me even though I was living with my mom. During those times when my father tried to include me in the life of his new family, I felt like a traveler lost between two worlds. I remember him repeatedly asking me to watch the kids, but over time he gave up on the idea, realizing that I didn't feel like I was a part of his new life. The years wove their threads, and my father still couldn't seem to understand why I didn't see his new family as my own. The moment he called my mom about my graduation and heard about the limited number of spots, his frustration reached a peak. On meeting him on New Year's Eve, at a party at my grandparents' house, we came face to face. He approached me, expressing his disappointment that our relationship had not worked out the way he wished it would. His attempts to engage his grandparents in conversation were unsuccessful, and he opined that our family had failed because of our infrequent meetings. I responded by emphasizing to him that the estrangement was due to the fact that I hardly knew his new wife and her children. My opinion and comfort didn't seem to matter to him. When I expressed my displeasure, he became even more angry. I told him that he shouldn't have said that he should have left me alone. That moment was a reflection of the deep rift between us, a gaping chasm of misunderstanding and frustration. I often return my thoughts to the image of my father. He was like an actor on the stage of life. His presence in my life was filled with contradictions and searches in which I sought answers to eternal questions about the meaning of family ties. My friends often expressed their opinions about my father. Their words were full of emotion and bewilderment. In their eyes, my father looked like a man whose actions and decisions often raised questions and doubts. Their words made me think about how my own memories and perceptions fit into the mosaic that makes up the portrait of my father. They spoke of how he saw me more as a tool in his hands than as an individual in my own right. These reflections made me feel embarrassed and nervous at the mention of the word family, because for him, family ties seemed to be something unstable and fickle. I remember how these conversations with friends, sometimes turning into jokes and sarcasm, gave me a new perspective on the relationships in my family. They spoke of the instability that accompanied my father in his life's journey, leaving unanswered questions and making his every decision a mystery. In these reflections, I saw how my father seemed blind to the consequences of his actions, failing to see the depth of how they affected those around him. His attitudes toward his family, his decisions and actions seemed mysterious to me, like pieces of a larger puzzle that I was trying to put together to understand his true nature. I often ponder the strangeness of human relationships. My loved ones reflect on how people are sometimes caught up in their desires and illusions, distorting their perception of reality. They talk about the amazing prerogative some people assign to themselves, thinking they have special rights or opportunities in relationships. As I listen to them, my mind conjures up images of the mental gymnastics required to convince myself that marrying someone whose previous relationships have not stood the test of time is a wise decision. I can't help but reflect on how people sometimes become captive to their desire for romantic relationships, placing that desire above a real understanding of the person with whom they are committing their lives. These relationships, while initially tantalizing and promising, often turn out to be just a shaky mirage in a desert of loneliness. My next story. My husband and I entered into the sacred union of marriage 3 years ago, and now the joy of our lives is our little daughter, who is the fruit of our love. Before fate brought us together as husband and wife, we were best friends for 6 years. Another important part of his life is his teenage daughter from a previous relationship, and she is truly wonderful. I love everything about this girl, except for her showering habit. She does it twice a day, in the morning before school and in the evening, around 5:00 p.m., spending anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes in the bathroom each time. When we have hot water, she uses it without fail, which has resulted in a significant increase in our expenses to nearly $600 per month over the past 4 months. Discussing this topic with her father led to the conclusion that we should get used to it, as I don't want to forbid her from showering. However, her shower routines have started to cause some discomfort, especially during dinner time. When she showers, it affects the water temperature in the kitchen sink. I often hear her yelling from the bathroom, asking me to turn off the kitchen faucet while I am trying to cook dinner and need water. To avoid such conflicts, I have suggested several times that she not use the shower from 4:00 p.m. to 6:00 p.m. I try to keep things neat and tidy, cook and wash dishes, but my stepdaughter's repeated shower situations make me feel frustrated. She often claims to be oblivious to my requests or goes into a rage, creating a tense atmosphere in the house. Every time she feels uncomfortable, she needs to shower immediately, which makes me resentful because of the constant repetition of this situation. Every time I try to bathe my daughter, take a shower myself, or wash dishes, I am faced with a lack of hot water. My husband also showers twice a day, but his reaction to the lack of hot water when he returns from work at 6 in the evening is more restrained. He complains, but never addresses the complaint to his daughter. The situation was further complicated after my husband's hours were cut in half due to the company's financial difficulties. This resulted in the major financial responsibility falling on my shoulders. I own my own business, and whereas previously the expenses were shared equally, I now pay significantly more. I expressed my frustration by insisting that my husband and his daughter limit themselves to 1 shower a day to reduce electricity costs. After I discussed this with his daughter, they both called me controlling, ignoring everything I said. She continues to shower twice a day for 45 minutes, which led to my decision to leave and stay with my mom and baby. My husband thinks I am an idiot for leaving them in their time of need, but I am not. They are financially ruining me, and I can't take it anymore. Each month, I only have about $200 left after paying all the bills, including the cost of a baby who needs diapers. It's awful, but since my daughter was born, I've only been able to afford to shower twice because of this situation. I either bathe her or thoroughly wash myself, but I need to bathe the baby because she is very small. Our family life began to take new turns. These changes have created unfamiliar circumstances that I have to face for the first time. My husband, who has always followed his routine of 2 showers a day, with which the utility bill stayed within reason, is now facing a new challenge. His showers, usually no more than 20 minutes, have paled in comparison to the new problem. The OCD diagnosed in both adds a new complexity to this situation, where a prominent manifestation of the disorder is their prolonged showering. Understanding that OCD plays a significant role in their behavior does not negate the fact that 14 hours in the shower each week is an excessive amount of time that puts an unsustainable burden on our budget. It exceeds acceptable limits, even given their special needs. In this context, it is clear that professional help is needed to develop alternative strategies to overcome the difficulties of OCD or to find ways to increase income. The need for these measures is underscored by the increasing financial difficulties we are facing. As a temporary solution, it may be worth considering obtaining a family pass to the YMCA or a gym membership, which would significantly reduce our costs by allowing them to shower elsewhere. The need for professional help in managing their obsessive-compulsive disorder is becoming increasingly apparent, regardless of the cost of that support. Using hot water for many hours each week for only 2 people showering is an untenable approach that ignores financial reality and the need for mutual respect in family life. Behavior that seems rude and inconsiderate underscores the need to find a solution that meets the needs of all family members. If the daughter wishes to continue taking long showers, which cost about $600, perhaps she should consider contributing to the utility bill. Even though she is still a teenager and cannot hold a job, it is important to help her realize the importance of responsibility and resource management. Specific steps can be taken to awaken awareness in the daughter and her father. One solution might be to regulate access to hot water, such as closing the valve on the water heater. This would limit the duration of the shower, reducing the time to 10 minutes. This solution, while it may seem harsh, is designed to restore fairness and balance to the use of resources in the home. Now I want to tell a different story. As a teenage girl, I am going through a difficult time in my life. It all started when I started dating a guy who was almost an adult. Our union brought a small child into the world, and since my own family was not supportive, I was forced to move and live with my boyfriend's family. However, out of the blue, my mom invited us to a family event and offered to sleep over at her place. When we arrived, I assumed that my boyfriend and I would be staying in the guest room that used to belong to my older sister who had moved out of state. But my mom suddenly informed me that my boyfriend would be sleeping in the guest room and I would be sleeping in my old room, which I now had to share with my younger sister. I tried to convince my mom that my boyfriend and I needed to be together since we shared a child and I needed his help at night. However, my mom was adamant, stating that I was still a child and would not share a bed with a man under her roof. I countered that neither I nor my child would be sharing a bunk bed with my younger teenage sister and emphasized how important my boyfriend's help at night was to me. But my mom remained unmoved in her decision, which led to me saying we wouldn't stay the night, but we would stay at the party. This made my mom upset and provoked an argument. She said I couldn't take it, waking up for one night, proving I was too immature to be a mother. We ended up leaving and my mom left me a bunch of angry messages. My dad texted me, begging me to apologize to my mom. I felt stunned and confused. It was so complicated. I felt sorry for my parents not supporting us. The demand to share a bunk bed with a child seemed absurd, not to mention depriving me and my child of the help we needed. I am grateful that my boyfriend is supportive and helps with the baby. We did the right thing by leaving and not giving in to unreasonable demands. It's just the phase in life where I am right now. If my mom can't come to terms with it, that's her problem that she needs to work out on her own. I wish all 3 of us nothing but the best. My mom tries to close the barn door after the horses have escaped, but it's too late. Her argument about my immaturity as a mother seems absurd. I'm already a mother, so this suggestion makes no sense at all. Frankly, it seems like the mom is too immature to have a grandchild. If her child already has children of her own, then I correctly assume that the fault lies with the grandmother as well. There is no better defense than a sleeping baby who wants his daddy to help him at night. That's a good reason for our decision to stay together. If mom was really concerned about our closeness under her roof, she might have offered to leave the door ajar. But really, she was at least a year too late to be so concerned. Unless I said something inappropriate or rude during an argument, I don't see the need to apologize. Next story. 6 months ago, my 24-year-old best friend Tess, age 26, happily asked me to be her maid of honor. We have been friends for years and I love her deeply. She has always been there for me, and together we have experienced many hardships and joys. Tess's planned bachelorette party was a special event that she had dreamed of even before we got engaged, and I felt guilty that I wouldn't be able to pull it off as we had planned. The 2 of us had meticulously planned a trip to Vegas that was supposed to take place this week. However, a few days ago, an unexpected event occurred. My partner Jason lost his job. Even though he saw it coming, the layoff still shook him up pretty badly. He was stressed and upset, and initially didn't even tell me about it so as not to worry me. However, after realizing that I couldn't leave Jason alone in that situation, I made the decision to back out of the trip. After I'd gotten myself together, I called Tess to explain my decision. At first, she thought I was joking, and then, realizing the truth, she burst out in anger. It was understandable, but I hoped she could also understand my situation. After all, my partner was going through a rough patch, and I felt that my place was by his side, even despite what it meant for Tess and her wedding. Tess, with determination in her voice, told me to do whatever it took and cut the call short. She didn't respond to my subsequent attempts to contact her, but instead sent me numerous messages claiming that I had stolen her special day from her. She accused me of agreeing to be her maid of honor, unwilling to carry out the duties assigned to me. Tess stated that I was unreliable and that they are convinced that I should apologize to Tess for disrupting her plans and leaving her at such an important time. Perhaps I really should apologize to Tess, even if it means that our friendship is over. However, they also emphasize that I'm too busy playing the role of guardian and caring for Jason, which prevents me from seeing the reality of the situation. A story that really surprised me. I have 5 children, an almost grown son, a teenage girl, a younger teenage girl, and 2 twins, a boy and a girl. Recently, my niece Isa got married, and when I received the wedding invitation, it stated, "Op family." I assumed that this included me, my wife, and all my children, as there was no mention of a marriage without children or age restrictions in the invitation. Isa has always been close to my children, especially the older ones, so I saw no reason not to bring them along. The wedding was organized for family and close friends for about 50 to 60 people, and there was no indication of a specific seating arrangement. With that in mind, I invited all my children. Isa's uncle was also at the wedding with his 2 children, a teenager and an 18-year-old son, as their invitation also specified family only. The ceremony was beautiful, and during the party, my sister's mother approached me, asking if my whole family had come. I confirmed that yes, and didn't give it a second thought until the next day. On Sunday, my sister texted me expressing her displeasure that I had brought 6 people with me to a wedding where there were few guests. She felt that I should have checked with the bride and groom to see if I could bring all my children since there were barely enough seats. I replied that I assumed the invitation Op's family included all my children and that I had nothing against going with just my wife if there were any restrictions or caveats. In response to the invitation, my sister continued to disagree, stating that when you have a large family, you should confirm if you can take everyone and not make assumptions. I contacted my niece Aza to clarify the situation, and she confirmed that there was a planning error on the part of the organizers. She admitted that she had originally assumed that only the older cousins would attend the wedding, but ended up being happy to see everyone. My sister continued to criticize me, calling me an idiot for bringing my 5 children and my wife to the wedding. However, I did not bring a random group of 6 people, but my family who were invited to the wedding. The invitation clearly stated that my family was invited. The bride is not mad, and she herself said she was mistaken and that she was happy to see me and my children. Thus, no problems arise. My sister seems angry on behalf of others who really have no grievances. When the invitation says, "and family," and your relative knows exactly how big your family is, it is natural to assume that you are all invited. As for my sister, she seemed to expect me to leave my teenagers at home, which seems absurd. After all, my family is my family, whether it consists of 2, 3, or 30 people. If you receive an invitation addressed to you and your family, that means your entire family.